Good morning, my little potato chips. How you doing? It's wee Paddy from across the shuck. And I'm back with a video for myself this time. And this is a video on this knife, which is the GEC Unexcelled Bullet knife. And this is the number 23 pattern. The first blade is a drop point, which is designated by the 5. There's 2 blades, the second being a spay. And it was made in 2020, and it's in red tail jigged bone. Now, as you can tell by this rather large tube, it's a ginormous knife, and there's a bit of history with it, which is nice, and I know a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit. So what I'm going to show you is this behemoth of a trapper. This is a large trapper. It has got the bullet shield there with the GEC's Unexcelled. Now, I'm not sure who they had to get permission to use this, or indeed if they had to get permission. I haven't a clue. So I'm going to go back a bit. The bullet knives were made by Remington, and Remington started in about the 1920s. I think it was 1920, and by 1922 they'd come out with the bullet knife, this large trapper. Now, this was a more expensive knife at the time, obviously because of the size of it. This is a massive big knife. And the workmanship that went into it, this is a square end with a flat top so that your pocket lilt and all couldn't get into it. This was done very high end, quite expensive, so didn't sell a huge amount for Remington at the time. But they made Remington made knives from about 1920 through till about 1939, I believe, and then they decided to go back into doing the ammunition and guns as Remington were known for, and they didn't come back into play again until about 1982, I believe. And then they actually commissioned Camillus to make their knives for them. So Camillus made the bullet knives, and they made a different bullet knife every year for about 30 years or something, 30 odd years. And now that's over 30 patterns. The original bullet knife only came in about 13 patterns with 2 variants, so say 15 different styles of bullet knife. So Camillus had license to produce more, obviously to sell more, and they were of a lesser quality. They didn't have the flat square end, they had the usual camtang end on them. So Camillus made them for quite a few years, and then from Camillus, Schrade's had a go at bullet knives, Buck has made bullet knives, Bear & Son has made bullet knives, and now Smoky Mountain Knife Works. I'm not sure if they bought the patent or the brand name, but they've just launched the Baby Trapper, which is the smaller version of this, which Pete over at Jersey Knife Guy just done a video on that. Please go over and see that. It was just in first impressions, but it just shows you what a beautiful knife that has been put out, and it was made by GEC. Smoky Mountain Knife Works and GEC came together to make it. But this is just the GEC version in the Unexcelled, which is the higher end of GEC. So you're getting the line bolsters, the lovely flat top. I just think that is gorgeous. It really finishes a knife. But the fit and finish, I can't tell you, there's not a single. And this is a big knife, which is quite hard to do. Look at the fit and finish around that. It is just stunning. Look at the blade centering. I'm just going to show you the blade centering. 2 massive big blades. There's no blade wrap whatsoever, and they're dead up the center. Brass liners, brass pins, nickel silver bolster, and this, I just love this bullet shield. Apparently it's the 30mm bullet shield, or bullet, I should say. Now, here is the main blade, and I'm going to have to do, it's so shiny. It's the top of the range blade. Now, look at the etch if I can get this for you. There you go. You can see it. It has bullet on the edge, the onyx gel and bullet across it. I think that is stunning. And this is just a huge knife. The handle itself is 4.5 inches long. The blade is just under 4 inches with a cutting edge of 3.5. So this is a huge big knife in the slip joint field. Just a massive. And look at that drop point and the swedge that comes from here right down to the end. It is beautiful. I mean, the haft and the symmetry of the blade and the swedging is just stunning. This is a proper big work knife. And, you know, it's a sort of knife that deserves to be used. Here's a spay blade. This, to me, is just... That first blade would be your cutting blade for sort of everyday tasks, if you like. But look at that for a knife. As a skinner, but as even to use in the kitchen in your camp, a butter knife, it's just massive big spay blade. It just, that really sings to me. And I remember doing this is a trapper, I'll show you in a minute. I remember doing a cut test with a trapper, and the spay blade was my favourite for doing boxing because it's got a deeper blade, so it's got a thin grind. Look at that. That is just beautiful. As a slicer, that is amazing. Never mind your fancy new knives. If you want a kitchen knife that's a slicer, look at the size of this. Now, I have medium large hands. Look at how much room I have there, and at the end there's still room, and that's a full, just, oh, it's just stunning. I love this knife. I think it really deserves to be used, and I probably will use it. I don't know how often, because I don't want to ruin the bullet edge, but I'll probably use this quite a bit. I like to keep that bullet edge on the front. I just think that adds to the knife. This red tail jig bone, just tell me that's not pretty. Just tell me that's not craftsmanship at its best. It is just, and that shield has been fitted in there as good as any I've ever seen. And it must be quite difficult to do that size of shield and all the different, even the cap of the bullet. It's just stunning, an absolutely stunning knife. And I'm going to put it down. I'm going to give you some comparisons because this sort of makes me laugh a bit, because not that it's, silly funny, but it's just a huge big knife. Here's a case trapper. This is the large case trapper. Look at that. It looks like a baby knife compared to it. As far as the depth, the blade's quite good. But look, when I put these together, now look at the size of that blade. It's just stunning. I should have got the spay blade out to give a better comparison. Oh, sugar. And I've just cut myself with it, I think. But look at the difference in them two spay blades. What, and like, I always thought this was a big knife for a traditional, and it is a big knife, and it's a great big knife, a useful knife. But this is just an absolute beauty. Now, apparently when GEC have made a few of these, I think this is one of the first knives GEC, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm knocking everything about me today. This is one of the first knives that GEC brought out, the number 23 pattern. Now, in 2020, they brought out 4 different patterns. Only one was the bullet. The other was the woodland, which was a micarta, a lovely micarta. But this was the only bullet knife they brought out. But apparently, now, I only heard this over at Knife Thoughts channel. Great channel, by the way. Go over if you want to learn about traditional. Normally, GEC bring the number 73 pattern out shortly after this. Now, whether they will this time or not, I do not know. This is one of my favourite knives. I have lots of favourite knives. But this is an Appaloosa jigged bone, brown jigged bone. A beautiful, beautiful knife. And it's like it is a trapper. It's in that same shape, the handle shape. Everything about this is very much just a smaller version of the GEC, or the Remington trapper. Just a smaller version. You can see there by the size down there. This, again, is a full-size knife. One of my favourite little work knives. It's a single blade. Just a stunning little knife. Stunning. Here's another. Here's a slimline trapper. This is a Shatton Morgan. And again, a lovely, slim, long, elegant knife, where this is just a beastie boy. This is what I would call an everyday user, as is this, the long, slim trapper. Just beautiful. But maybe I should give you a look at some other knives that it's... I'm going to put it with a couple of modern knives. How's that? There is the Benchmade 950, one of the most popular knives. Handle, just the same size. Blade is bigger on this, although the cutting edge is still just a bit bigger. So this is in the realms of a full-size knife. Let me show you something else. Here's a Para 3, one of the most popular knives at the moment. Look at the difference. In the blade difference you'll get with this, the Para 3. Now, is this heavier? Yes, it is. Of course it is. It's definitely heavier without a shadow of a doubt. But I carry it in this. This is one of the big Northwood slips I've got with one of my knives. And this knife, this must be the large Northwood, because this knife just disappears beautifully and sits in my pocket. Now, you could put it on a belt sheath. A buck sheath is exactly the same size and will work perfectly with this if you want to carry it. It has got a lot of weight to it. I don't know whether you want... No, I'll not do it. It's not worried. I would say it's about 5 ounces, roughly. I'm not sure what it is, but I would say about 5 ounces. But that's not the point. The point is the workmanship, what you're getting for your money. Now, this is by no means a cheap knife. But to me, the value is in the workmanship, and you can see it there and then. 1095 steel, which is a great steel. Just everything about it. Holding this in your hand, you know you have a knife. This is not some bug out. This is a proper big knife. 5 ounces, I would say maybe just a bit over 5 ounces. But stunning, with a 3.5-inch cutting blade. That's full size EDC material, and you get 2 blades, not just one. So this will keep you going as long as you like if you want a work knife. Again, lovely. I would love the single blade of this version, with just much like the 73. I would love this in a single blade. I don't know well, it doesn't have to be a bullet because I've got the bullet, but a single blade like this with a drop point on it would be absolutely beautiful, to have the choice of 2 knives in that style, which I do love, I have to say. There's sort of one other knife this was my sort of biggest knife before I got this knife. Bearing in mind, this knife has 2 blades, 2 big clip blades, but I just wanted to show the difference even in size of this. This is the number, oh gosh, forgot the blade number on it. Let me just see. This is the number 54 pattern, and it's the bull nose. Is it the bull nose? Something like that. It's 2 big clip blades either end, so it's an Eco-Lend pen knife if you like, but it's big. But again, nothing compared to that. This is just a beautiful orange crush. I still love this knife. 2 huge big clip points on it. Beautiful. So there we go. There's the bullet knife. A little bit of history about the bullet knife. Where it's going to go from now, whether Smoky Mountain Knife Works have the rights to it, I don't know. Again, if anybody knows how GEC got permission to use that bullet shield, I would say they would have had to pay somebody for it. But if you look, I know GEC are hard to get, and I'm honoured to have this in my collection. I've done a trade for this with one of the boys in my slip joint club, and just honoured to have it in my collection. I think it is stunning, and workmanship. Everything that GEC stands for is in this knife. It was one of the first they made. We're getting on quite a few years now after that, 15, 16 years. And they're still making knives of this highest quality. No drop. So there you go. Take care. Paddy's rant and rave is over. Beautiful bullet knife. And I just thought it was a good time to bring it out. Since Smoky Mountain are bringing out the baby one, that'll let you see what the large one's like. Take care, everybody. Paddy's gone. All the very best.